May 29th, 1840, South Texas. May 29, 1840. The land of South Texas trembled beneath the pounding hooves of war horses. The Texas Rangers, led by Captain John "Rip" Ford, were about to face one of their most brutal battles yet. Outnumbered and surrounded by the fierce Comanche warriors, the Rangers found themselves in the midst of a blood-soaked fight for survival. The crack of rifles, the war cries of the Comanche, and the clash of steel filled the air, leaving the earth soaked in blood. What would happen when two legendary forces collided? Stay with us as we dive into the full story of this historic battle. And if you love epic tales of survival and fierce conflict, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss the full story. William Gillespie's motivation. Among the Rangers, one man had more at stake than most. William Gillespie, a nephew of the legendary Ranger Robert Gillespie, had come to prove himself in this new battle against the fierce Comanche warriors who had haunted Texas for decades. Though young, he was eager to carve out his own name in the history of the Rangers, much like his famous uncle had done before him. His reputation, however, had yet to be solidified, and this mission, more than any other, was his chance to step into the legend of the Texas Rangers. Gillespie had always felt the weight of his family name, but it wasn't just the name that pushed him. His ancestors, like many others, had come to Texas with dreams of settling in peace. But the violence of the frontier had long shattered those dreams, forcing men like Gillespie to survive through the skill, strength, and sheer determination. The Comanche were not just enemies, they were a symbol of the untamed wildness that had shaped the history of the state. If he could prove himself here, in this battle, he would earn more than respect from his fellow Rangers. He would earn his place among the legends. Initial encounter with the Comanche. The first encounter that sparked the conflict had been a small one, but it set the stage for something much larger. A Comanche warrior, desperate for supplies and food, had attempted to steal horses from a settler's ranch. The sentry posted at the ranch spotted the warrior and fired at him, wounding him. The Comanche was captured and brought back to the Rangers' camp. Though the warrior's injuries were grave, he had one final act of defiance. He cursed the Rangers, declaring that his tribe would seek vengeance for the death of one of their own. This small act of violence would unleash a storm. The Comanche had no concept of mercy. They would never forgive such an insult. The tribe had always retaliated in kind, and their warriors moved with the speed and precision of an unstoppable force. What started as a minor raid was now a declaration of war. Conflict with Fort Merrill's commander. As the Rangers prepared for the inevitable Comanche retaliation, Captain Ford knew he needed reinforcements to handle the coming storm. He sent Edward Burleson Jr. to Fort Merrill, hoping to get additional men. But when Burleson arrived, the reception was far from welcoming. The commander at Fort Merrill, J.B. Plummer, was indifferent to the plight of the Rangers. He gave little thought to the situation, even allowing his men to mock and disrespect the body of the dead Comanche warrior. It was an insult that would have deepened the enmity between the two sides. Ford had hoped for a show of solidarity, but instead, he was met with indifference and disregard. It was a reflection of how disconnected some military leaders were from the realities on the frontier. Plummer's lack of urgency and respect for the Comanche only worsened the situation. Comanche's response. The Comanche warriors, angered by the death of one of their own and the disrespect shown by the Rangers, began to plan their retaliation. A survivor of the raid had informed the tribe of the attack, and they gathered their forces for a swift response. They knew that the Rangers were outnumbered, but the Texans' superior weaponry, especially the Colt Walker revolvers, would be a problem. Despite the Comanche's fierce fighting abilities, they would have to move quickly. Their strategy was clear: a swift strike at the heart of the Rangers' camp to incapacitate them before they had a chance to retaliate in full force. What the Rangers didn't know was that the Comanche were already circling, preparing for the ambush that would come at dawn. Discovery of a war party. On May 29, a group of Rangers led by Ford came across tracks in the sand that confirmed their worst fears. The Comanche were nearby. Preparing for war. Scouts had been sent out to track the enemy, and they had returned with news of fresh horse prints. The Rangers had little time to prepare. They were about to face a battle for their lives. As Ford led his men through the wilderness near Agua Dulce Creek, the tension was palpable. The riders' eyes were sharp, watching the land carefully. The horses moved with precision, each ranger aware of the risks that lay ahead. Ford knew the Comanche's reputation well, They fought fiercely and knew the land better than anyone, but he also knew that his Rangers were a well-trained, disciplined force. This would not be an easy fight. Texas Rangers firepower. Ford's Rangers were armed with Colt Walker revolvers, a weapon far superior in firepower to the Comanche's traditional bows and arrows. The Colts, with their large caliber and rapid fire capability, gave the Rangers a distinct advantage. But superior weaponry would only go so far in the rugged, unpredictable terrain of the frontier. The Comanche, despite their relatively lighter weapons, had unmatched skill in maneuvering across the land. Their ponies could move faster than the Rangers' horses, and their ability to strike from ambush was second to none. Still, Ford was confident that with the Rangers' superior weaponry and disciplined formation, they stood a chance. They were prepared to face whatever came next, knowing that their best hope was in the precision of their rifles and the firepower of their revolvers. Surprise attack at Agua Dulce Creek. At dawn, the Rangers' worst fears came to life. As they neared the Comanche camp near Agua Dulce Creek, they launched their assault with brutal precision. The Rangers rode in fast, charging straight into the heart of the enemy camp. The surprise was total. The Comanche warriors were caught off guard by the speed and ferocity of the attack. The battle was swift and violent. Guns fired, rifles cracked, and knives flashed in the early morning light. The Comanche warriors, skilled in battle, were overwhelmed by the sheer firepower of the Rangers' Colt revolvers. Despite their superior numbers, they struggled to fight back against the disciplined and relentless attack. For the Rangers, it was a moment of brutal clarity. They had caught the Comanche at their most vulnerable, and they pressed their advantage. But the Comanche, known for their fierceness, were not easily defeated. Even as they were pushed back, they fought with every ounce of their being, refusing to surrender. Aftermath of the battle. By the time the dust settled, the Comanche had been driven back, but at a heavy cost. The Rangers had suffered casualties, though their superior weaponry had allowed them to inflict more damage on the attackers. The once quiet creek now ran red with blood, the earth soaked in the price of survival. The Comanche were not easily defeated, but the Rangers had sent a clear message. They were not to be underestimated. For the Comanche, it was a harsh reminder that the land they had ruled for centuries was not without its dangers. The settlers and the Texas Rangers had become forces to be reckoned with, and their fight for survival had only just begun. For William Gillespie, the battle was a personal victory, a chance to prove his worth, not just as a ranger, but as a man capable of facing the brutal realities of the frontier. But despite their victory, the Rangers knew that this battle was only one chapter in a much larger conflict. The Comanche would not rest, and neither would the Texas Rangers. The war for the land was far from over. Agua Dulce Creek was a brutal proving ground. The frontier spared no one. The Comanche ruled with fire and steel, but the Rangers etched their defiance in blood. For William Gillespie, it was vengeance forged in lead, a sister's cry answered. Yet, as the Rangers rode off, dust swirling in their wake, the plains whispered a warning. The Comanche weren't finished. Their next strike loomed, and Texas would bleed again. Who will fall when vengeance clashes anew? Ride with us to find out. If this saga of guts and guns gripped you, smash that like, subscribe, and share it wide. The Wild West's deadliest fights are just heating up. Don't miss the next shot.